I am pretty stressed right now, I'm not going to lie. Welcome back, of course, to the Dream Car Garage build. You can probably see behind me there is some progress with the garage foundations. I will show you that in just a minute, but I just want to say, yeah, I'm pretty stressed at the moment, trying to organise a company to deliver the concrete and get someone in to lay the concrete on the same day. Also a day in December when it is not raining or not too cold. That task is proving to be very difficult to do. Bear in mind, next week is Christmas, so I think we need to get this done this week or things could go very, very wrong. I'm going to show you exactly what we've been up to, and then I'll hopefully explain things a little bit better. So then, in the previous video, you'll probably have seen the construction of the shuttering. Of course, this is to hold in the concrete while it is being poured, essentially. The shuttering is all bang on now. It's within around 20 millimeters of tolerance. It is very, very square, measured corner to corner, and that's within 5 millimeters of tolerance. So from here to there, between the edge of the plywood to the edge of the plywood, should be 5,400 millimeters. It's around 5,380 millimeters, so about 20 millimeters short. That's absolutely fine. I can just overlap the bricks around 10 mil on either side of the building. And then I think widthways, that should be 12,000 millimeters. Again, I think it's around 11,990. I think there's literally 10 millimeters tolerance between them. So again, it would literally just be a 5 mil overhang of the brick on the edge of the concrete slab. Now you probably have a few questions. What are all these braces doing? What are they doing on the inside of the garage foundations? Aren't they just going to be encased in concrete? No, I'll explain. So basically they are just there temporarily. Once concrete is poured and once it pours in the trench, the concrete then should hold the shuttering in place. If I didn't have those braces in place, the shuttering would be quite wavy. As you can see right now, it is quite straight for a big length. I mean, that's 9 meters. That along the back, as I mentioned, is 12 meters. It's pretty damn straight at the moment. However, if I didn't have those braces in, it would be like this. I mean, it wanted to kind of do this. It was quite bad actually, and I think I lost about nearly 100 millimeters, you know, from there to there. So those need to be in place while the concrete is poured. Once the concrete, you know, is filling up the trenches, they can be removed, and I can then backfill to prevent the shuttering from forcing outwards. Obviously, when you are working with timber, when you have to knock stakes into the ground, it's very, very difficult to get it in a dead straight line, to get it absolutely bang on, because as Glenn mentioned in the previous video, you hammer a stake into the ground, it hits a rock, then it wants to do this. So you know, he's done a very, very good job to get that as accurate as he has. I just want to say a massive thanks to my dad as well. He's helped me for the past couple of days to basically get this as accurate as it has been. You know, installing these stakes, we did have to dig out the back slightly just so we can push the stakes back because they were sort of leaning inwards. And yeah, you know, I couldn't have installed all this without him. These sheets weigh an absolute ton. I mean, you can see how big they are, 4.8 meters by 2.4 meters. They weigh an absolute ton. Getting them in the right position, getting all the damp-proof membrane down. Yeah, I just could not have done all this by myself. Now we'll walk onto the garage foundations. So as you know, underneath here we have between 10 and 12 inches of compacted hardcore. I've also covered that with between 5 and 10 millimeters of building sand, and then of course I've covered it with a 1200 gauge Visqueen damp proof membrane, and that's all been taped up with some DPM tape. Obviously the membrane itself is overlapping you know, a good amount, probably 2 or 3 feet overlapping, and then we have these steel meshes. So essentially these are A193 mesh. It's basically 10mm mesh. That's the spec required for the foundations of this garage. It only called for 1 layer, but as you can probably see, in quite a number of areas, probably the majority of this is actually overlapping. So I guess that can only mean extra strength, right? But yes, it did only require just the 1 layer, and they are sitting upon 50mm chairs. Obviously you don't want your mesh on the ground. If it is on the ground, it's doing nothing at that point. You want a good layer of concrete underneath it, and you want this to be suspended inside of the concrete. Nothing was required down into the trench. Obviously we went down to rock, so it's nice solid ground in there. That's going to basically be 3 to 4 foot deep of concrete. Again, here's just a look at the longest expanse. This is 12 meters along here, and yeah, that is as straight as you are going to get this. Like I said, this shuttering is built up of 2x2 stakes driven into the ground. They're probably 8 to 12 inches in the ground, and then plywood screwed to that with then some 2x2 toppers on top of those stakes, just to give it some more strength. Now, as I mentioned, as the concrete goes in, I will be backfilling, especially along this back edge here where it's kind of all slipped away into it. So there's not a whole lot of earth here. Along here, it should be absolutely fine. This is basically ground level. Again, along here, basically ground level. Along the front, that's mostly hardcored up to the top of the shuttering. There's just a little section along there that will require filling in. That's what all that hardcore is there for. And then just a bit along there as well. It'll basically be level with the ground then. So I don't think I need to worry too much about the shuttering pushing out, because most of the concrete is going to be below ground level. Generally, when shuttering blows out, it blows out at the bottom. That's where the most pressure is. And if that happens, obviously it's just going to go into the ground. Like, it has nowhere for the concrete to go. So yeah, I think we should be absolutely fine with this shuttering. Another point with the damp proof membrane, ideally I would have liked it to go down into the trench and over the top of the shuttering. However, we have a bit of a situation where, of course, the trench is filling up with water. If I ran it down into the trench and over the top of the shuttering, there would be a lot of water trapped underneath that damp proof membrane, and I wouldn't have any way of draining it out. At the moment, what I've been doing is just using a wet vac and just sucking it out and then emptying it down a drain. Obviously I don't know how long it's going to be until I get this concreted, so either the day before or the morning of, I'll obviously have to drain that out before the concrete can be poured. So yeah, pretty happy with how things are looking. I don't think realistically we could have got it any better than this. It's actually turned out better than what I expected. I didn't think we was going to be able to get this shuttering as straight as what we did, and I didn't think we was going to be able to get it within the tolerances that we have. So yeah, all this has turned out absolutely great. However though, like I said, trying to get someone at short notice, a concrete company to deliver, and then trying to get someone in to lay it, it's just been very, very difficult. And then like you try to look as far forward as possible with the weather. Say it's not going to rain, then it rains. It's just very, very difficult, very, very stressful. And it's something that, like, you only get one chance of doing it. You can't, get this wrong. It has to be done right the first time. If it rains on the day, that can, potentially ruin the whole thing. It can weaken the mix. It can ruin the finish. And yeah, there's just so many things to consider. But I guess that's what you get for taking on a project like this on your own, while trying to manage it on your own, so to speak. But yeah, I'm sure we'll get there, and I'd imagine in the next few clips you will see some concrete being poured. So all will be good. So it's concrete pour day, and we have some work to do before they arrive with the concrete in approximately 2 hours. Let me show you the state of things. It rained pretty badly last night, so yeah, we have to drain some water out of these trenches. Good 6 inches or so deep down there, probably a good 8 to 10 inches deep down there, and then probably the best part of a foot deep of water down here. Right, let's get this water drained out. No, it's not done yet. I just thought then, is the bag still in this? But no, it's not. No. The Karcher, isn't it? Yeah. So we're getting all set up. Here is the huge 50-meter pump line going all the way to the back of the property, all the way down the drive, to the other side of the garage foundations. Now, we have drained out as much water as we can, obviously because it was raining yesterday. It's just going to keep soaking out into the ground. There's probably, a few little puddles left in the bottom of the trench now, but I'm sure they'll be absolutely fine. Just spoke to the concrete guys as well. They said, any water that's in there, it will just be pushed to the top. So I'm not going to stress too much about it. I do know that I'm going to have to be pretty quick though when it comes to backfilling. I don't really want to backfill yet because otherwise I could potentially disturb the shuttering and push it too far in. That's what kind of happened before. As you can see, this is pretty straight at the moment, but once the trenches start to fill, that's when I've got to be pretty quick in getting all this hardcore over here pushed down into place to keep the shuttering from forcing itself outwards. Jesus. So it's the morning after now. Stress levels were up here, now they're right down here. I don't know if you saw in the previous clips when this concrete was being poured, but I was running around like a headless chicken trying to get this thing backfilled. But it's done now. A cat walked on this last night, but I don't care, it can be fixed. I'm happy with the result. I'm going to show you around it now and show you what this thing looks like. So then, as I mentioned, it is just the morning after, so it's not quite set yet. Temperatures were only about 3 degrees last night, so yeah, it definitely wasn't the warmest, but the main thing is that it didn't go below freezing. So, you know, this thing is going to be absolutely fine. We're actually getting warmer temperatures now as well, some rain today as well, which should actually help things. It generally cures a lot stronger when it's kept nice and moist. But yeah, couldn't be happier with the finish. Obviously you don't really know what it's like until you get on there, but there is going to be the odd, you know, dimple and the odd footprint from a cat, but I think those will all sand out you know, nicely. Now moving round to the back edge, which is obviously the longest stretch. I think it's 12 meters along there. It did get a little bit wiggly. I think at the furthest point out is probably, I don't know, 20 mil more or so, which is not a problem. I can definitely get a straight line along here with the engineering bricks. Basically I ran out of hardcore, so I don't know if you can see down there, but that's absolutely filled with just rubble. But I ran out. I was literally running around scrapping, trying to get little bits, but I ran out in the end, so I just had to put some brace in between the shuttering and the gravel boards of the fence there, just to kind of hold it in place. But once it was, you know, held in place, it's absolutely fine. Yeah, those are probably the worst of the cat paw prints. I'm guessing they must have been on the fence. They jumped off, landed on the concrete and was like, oh, I don't like that. And I think they've walked down along here. As you can see, the footprints get lighter and lighter, so they probably ran up along and across there. But again, it's not a problem. Most of this will just sand out. I'll probably fill these little bits. I'm pretty sure this is just going to be units here anyway, so you won't even see that. And the whole floor is going to get either painted or, you know, epoxy resined, and yeah, it's not going to be the end of the world if I have to fill and sand a few spots. Not going to be the end of the world at all. The main thing is that we have the foundations here now, and we are pretty much ready to start building on top of this. And for those that don't know exactly what we are planning on building on this huge slab here, maybe you haven't been following the series up to now, but essentially it's going to be a timber garage, a 3-car timber garage. It's going to be a big double garage here slash workshop with a lot of area to work in, 2-post lift. Then on the far end, just over there, that's kind of going to be a single garage just to store a car in. So what are the next steps then? The next steps are, I need to save up a lot of money, because as you can probably imagine, a garage of this size, even a timber one, is not going to be cheap. So I've got to save up a hell of a lot of money, and then we have to get some engineering bricks around the perimeter, basically what the garage sits on. I'm not too sure if I'm going to go for 1 layer or 2 layers yet. Still have some deciding left to do, but that is probably going to be sometime next year, hopefully in a bit better conditions, you know, when it is slightly warmer. So I will of course update you guys with that, but I am going to wrap this part up. Hopefully you all have enjoyed it. Remember to give this video a like, leave a comment down below, subscribe if you have not already done so, and I will see you all in that next one.